Okay, so looking for single words and manners of speaking on its own is going to be extremely faulty. We all have different families, different ways that people speak, and it could just be picked up from the environment, whatnot, whatnot. So I don't tend to go there. It may be relevant in something I'm looking at. It just depends. So I was always trying to tell people that please don't repeat that. They don't believe you. And I kind of want to get more in depth in that because I guess they just don't comprehend what we're saying because you wouldn't say it. You just wouldn't say it. It's a typical flip the script thing that's going on, and it's not always out of ignorance either, and you figure it out in the speech. So when you take into account the conduct of the Oxygen channel that was fake outraging over child crimes, even though they love Christianity and it's all about child crimes, and I'll bring up another thing on that later, but they are acting shocked that these men are justifying serial rapists and serial killers. And I had been bringing up that they all want to be Ted Bundy, and technically, yeah. So they have a lot of relatability with his character traits. And in this speech, and I think the best, example is to show on the one with the tickling one, because it's so outright that the person's guilty of doing it as well. And they're having relatability to the perpetrator arrested. There's a couple of problems in the story. Okay. A couple of problems in the story. So we have a clan of people that don't think that touching kids in that way is sexual. That's a major problem. Yes, it is. And there's a big fetish for this. I was like, so it is a sexual thing. Now you need to understand how things get sexualized and when that occurs, which occurs in that 0 to 6 area, somewhere around there. So what are you doing to the kid, and why is that a very common fetish with a lot of these men? And to do it, by the way, because something's happening in their childhood right there that is causing that to occur. And what are you doing to your kids? You're letting every single stranger touch your child. So they have no agency, and they see no problem with letting adults touch their children. Well, they seem to be unaware that men are sexualizing doing the action of tickling on individuals. They may not all be into kids, but I would question any dude that's into that. Going off and doing that to a child would be in question. Mindset. We don't carry your mindset. The mindset may not always be like sexual in nature, but there is a level of enjoyment which is connected to, like, your pleasure zones. So you can have your excuse and go, it's not sexual, but what you're doing is problematic, regardless if it's a stranger or your parents. And more times than not, it's the family dynamic doing this stuff, right? So because Christians were anti-education, they're out here posting this kind of stupid garbage. It's ignorant. So I can tell pretty much that these are religious parents, because to come out here and say that it's not sexual just means that you're not privy to information that you should know about. And that's horrifying. So that shows me ignorance, right? That's just straight ignorance. I mean, that isn't, I'm a monster and I know it and I'm out here doing it but you are being a pimp. So you should not be pimping your children to get touched by men so they can get sexual gratification. And nor should you let anybody be randomly touching your kid. But this is what they're saying. So you could tell in those statements, it's ignorant, right? It's not, I'm a Ted Bundy. It's, I'm a dumb idiot and I'm allowing people to do things to my kids that I'm not privy to. Okay. That's how you can read through that most of the time. But sometimes, they be acting dumb and they know what the hell they're doing. but you need information to be able to read that. Okay, so then a grandfather who creeped me out decides to proclaim that he does this to his grandkids all the time, as this guy's getting totally busted. So I'm reading it going, you should be busted too. I don't know why you would proclaim that you did the same crime that they did and not expect to get busted for it eventually. So the question there, when I'm looking at that, why is he doing that all the time? Why would you do that all the time? Because your parents or somebody did that to you all the time. Oh, this is totally normal. So therefore, so here's how you read through this stuff. This is where I was going in on that oxygen thing that just pissed me off so bad. Okay. It's always like this. Now, would they all be considered NPD? They're going to tell you, nah. So if you read this psych post, right, this other thing, how the words people use reveal hidden patterns of personality dysfunction. And then basically they kind of go into the thing, it's faulty, you can't really, but you can in some way, in shape or form. But then, I don't go by those because it's not looking for what we're looking for. But I do read it because I'm looking at like what they're saying is attributed to what, and then they'll talk about like the cons and pros, going off by stuff like that. My language is all over the place, so good luck. But anyway, but then they mentioned a serial killer in here, and they're like, he talked very monotonish, blah, blah, blah. And I go, well, that just sounds like somebody on the spectrum. So you probably overlooked that throughout, going at serial killers and whatnot and the childhood abuses. Now, on the pedophile topic, which a lot of people actually don't talk about. Like, they talk pedos and we're outing them and they want to put the DP and everything. It's all stupid. And they're the ones creating the pedophile monster. And one of the things that they talked about was kids getting sexually abused. Well, we have a problem because most things that are sexual abuse are still not looked at as sexual abuse. Spanking kids is part of a sexual abuse. Tickling little kids is part of a sexual abuse. What it does is when we're talking about it, when it's done to a child, they're just developing, right? So this is our understanding of it as far as we got in this education, in this field of crap that we were in. and me speaking to people that actually have these things. Okay. So this isn't in a therapy office. This isn't from somebody getting busted or anything like that. This is in a universe where, they feel safe to come in and blah, blah, blah. We're not naming people or anything like that. We're just talking, because I actually get asked a lot about like what people come in and ask for, like just weird stuff. I don't know what the interest is of that. I guess maybe to not feel alone. I have no idea. But in the universe of this, they'll speak about things. If you get into that deeper conversation, these things had happened in early childhood, like really young. Okay. So you're talking informative years. So as they're developing. Now, this is the area where Christians don't believe sexuality, nothing is even occurring, nothing. It just pops up randomly at age 12, 13, whatever. No. So they're chronically developing. My assumption, this is an assumption from what we have gathered with this information, is that when the child is forming in that 0 to, I guess it's like 6 area where you're looking at, something may be pleasurable, like something of that nature. So if you're tickling a kid, they may take it like that and it just becomes a thing. So it gets sexualized somehow in this early portion, and then it'll show up later, right, in their conduct, like they need to continually do these things. So, but the other portion of it is when they get older, they may feel the need that they need to do it to others. And so therefore they are getting pleasure from doing it to other people. So why is this perverted grandpa doing it to the grandchildren? You got to ask it, because he said he always does it. So therefore, so now it goes into a therefore, okay? So I want to talk about the therefore thing. So this happened in the oxygen thing too, and it was just like, oh my God. But that guy actually is more scary than even the grandpa talking. So the grandpa talking is talking in a way that he's ignorant, stupid, like somebody touched him as a kid and it's totally normal, and you need to understand my stance. Because that's why he would be putting it in public, because he thinks he's right and that there's nothing wrong with what he's doing. So that's his outline, okay? So it's not, it's in a weird placement. So he says that. And then, so he's telling us that he relates to the perpetrator getting busted. Now it goes into the therefore, and this is how conspiracies are made, okay? Totally. It is a typical narcissist action. Does it mean he's a narcissist? Maybe. It's the big maybe, because he only sees himself and doesn't care about anybody else, okay? But it does have this air of ignorant, stupid to it, so it's kind of like, it's a narcissist trait, but at the same time, they're stupid, okay? So that's what we can gather from that. It goes into therefore, because I cannot see the problem within myself, okay? This is the placement, the mental placement of these people. I refuse to see the problem of something that I do all the time for enjoyment for myself, because the kids just, for the enjoyment of myself. Therefore, I'm going to create a conspiracy and throw it off myself. Okay, so this is what you saw on oxygen. But I'm telling you, that one on oxygen is way darker. And I'll get to it in a minute. So on this one, he's flinging it off going, so therefore, those kids must want money. Do you see it? It's not like he even cares about that. He had to make a conspiracy because he has to look at himself and go, I'm not the problem, you are. I'm not the problem, you are. That's the placement. So as a victim, though, on the other side of that, now you feel like this guy ain't believing me, whatever. You're getting the whole like outcome of him self-preservation, right? That's really what it is. And so he starts flinging his crap on you because he refuses to see the problem within himself. So I want you guys to understand this. And that is the real placement that tells you a lot about that character right there. But he's not really reading like a known pedophile, but he could be. But typically they wouldn't frame it in this way. It's just really stupid, right? It's like a thing where it's like, and then they go, I'm not molesting them. Okay, so now we got this thing going on. And we know the mentality to this most of the time isn't even about even that even. So let's just put it there. So there's a lot in it. It's actually pretty loaded, like that little paragraph. And I find it so important. So I'm like, please don't do censorship because I need to read this stuff. Because it's differentiating him from other people, but I'm trying to go through like, okay, now he puts it in public, now he's proclaiming this, now he's saying this, and I'm looking and analyzing the framing and how he's taking in information and then what he does about it after it. So he thinks that he's fine. So therefore, there's a conspiracy being had because he can't see himself as being the problem. Okay, so now it flings out, oh, those kids must want money. Do you guys finally get it? Like, I don't know, but all right. So next was the oxygen thing. Now, that one is dark as you know what, because if you saw it, if you guys didn't see it, it was a guy named, I think it was Reginald Kimball. Something like that. Anyway, that's what I have on my memory. And the whole time these cops were telling these girls that they just made shit up. But that's not really what the thinking is there. And that's why I said it's so problematic. The guy was straight up a narcissist. The cop is self-centered. And he is arrogant. He is disgusting, actually. I'm like, he's disgusting, actually. He's really disgusting. And he's a Ted Bundy type. And so what's happening is when the victims are explaining what the guy did, In his mind, it's relatable. So as it's being relatable to him, really relatable, he's like, he brings this up. He's like, so you're not into choking? Like, some people are into choking. And I'm like, oh my God, you could literally bring this up for any case out here that consists of attempted murder or anything like that. And them going, are you ever into like having strangers tie you up and hold a knife? Because some people are into that. It's a gaslight, because there's people out here that are into all kinds of wacky stuff. So you could say that for any case, right? Right? Yeah. So in this case, they're saying he just randomly started choking me. Well, how do I know that you're not into that? Why would that be in his brain, right? You have to really dissect these things that they're saying. So basically, the way he's taking it in is some female trying to get him busted, himself, the cop. So when you're saying this, he's taking it in and he's going, I don't see anything wrong with the conduct the guy did. Nothing at all. Nothing. So we got to create a conspiracy. You must have the problem, lady. You must be making stuff up. Because why would I want to bust a guy that does the same thing that I do? Because that would be absurd. So therefore, I have to degrade you and we're not going to do anything. Okay? Bye, girl. That's what it's about. It's not about belief. It's about that they see no wrong with the conduct that that serial killer, rapist dude was doing. And to sit back and listen to these women, it was so awful. I was just like, please stop. Please stop. Please don't feed the monsters. Please don't feed the monsters. You're feeding the animals. And that's what they want, though, too, at the same time, because they don't want to be stopped, you know? And then they tried to get them to talk, and of course they wouldn't talk on the TV thing. They had some black guy talk for them to try to defend that kind of crap, but nobody should be defending it. No one, nobody on earth. That one was not out of ignorance. That one was out of a hard defend that this conduct is fine. And they believe they have the right to do it. I mean, you have the same issue with the grandpa guy, but it's to try to explain the difference. The guy is trying to act like he's not a child molester because he doesn't, the framing in his brain doesn't believe that the conduct that he's doing is wrong, nor seeing it as a sexual abuse, or nor knowing that it can cause that to become a kink of a person later in life. So it becomes sexual. It can become a sexual thing. So within the child. So it has this level of just, I'm so stupid in it. I don't know. It's just in the one paragraph. In the other thing, there's a lot more context where the cop is talking and it's very arrogant. There's a level of evil arrogance and that there is nothing wrong with what happened here. Are you into choking? Because I know all about that. It has a different feel. Trying to dissect this stuff, it's a person-to-person basis. And when I'm looking at it, it's just I know from the feel of the person speaking. Like the type of person is like, I'm just really dumb and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. And I've been there myself, so we know what that looks like. So I'm just saying, it's like I'm going through it in real time. So I'm looking at, you know, these little statements that are really important, and the processing of that information that they refuse to see something wrong with them. I mean, that is a moment of being a narcissist. Is it NPD? Depends. I just don't feel it on the Gramps, but he probably is a little arrogant because he don't want to see no problem with himself. But definitely on the cop one. The cop one is scary. The cop one is like another Ted Bundy, and to align with a individual like that actually tells you a lot more. And that's why when we went into these departments, you can't get these guys busted because the people that they have talking to us also have the same similar issues. And so when you're telling them, hey, this guy did this, and when I went to the house, he did this, they're like, what? I do that all the time. So what is your problem? What are you trying to do? Yeah, so the defense comes up, right? And it has nothing to do with belief, you guys. Their own beliefs, the perpetrator's beliefs, but it has nothing to do with us. But the clear-cut case is the tickler one where it turned into conspiracy, so therefore they must want money. Therefore, they must be making something up, because there's no way in hell that I would ever see anything that I do as wrong. Placement. Okay? And that's full context. So, yeah, you'll get the character build more on the more they say. The more they say. Because maybe we'll get another context of that Gramp. Maybe he's on good, actions here by posting it, in that way online. You know what I mean? And in real life, he could be molesting all those kids and more than that. But just by the statement itself. But the other comments were women defending it, saying, wait, there's something wrong with people touching my kids' legs. And it's like crickets over here. I'm like, for real? Yeah, these are Christians. These are definitely, they're Christians, Mormons, somebody, okay? They are definitely sheltered, stupid human beings. Because that's where that came from. Because in the 80s portion, they never even mentioned the word rape. They refused to have sexual education in schools because, God. Okay, so you're supposed to just let some guy rape you. You were supposed to just let some guy rape you into marriage and then learn that way. Okay, so the ignorance ain't bliss. I try to put this out there. The education that it is a sexual misconduct, and it can create the way it would become a sexual misconduct is it happening to them as a child, and it becomes sexualized because you keep doing it and thinking it's not a sexual conduct. And then it creates a person into that crap. And then so now they have to continually do it. And that's how they get their rocks off. Not from any other, what you guys consider vanilla. There's no such thing as vanilla. But anyway, as what you guys consider the norm actions. So no, that definitely is a sexual conduct. Search the kink tickling. It's like they never used the internet. I don't know. It's amazing. It was scary. It was really scary reading to that. I was kind of like, wow, I've known this for decades. And I'm reading people saying this. And reading people saying it's okay to just randomly touch their kids' legs. I'm like, huh? And we know how pedos are created, at least to a portion of a degree here. But I'm telling you right now, even in that field, they probably don't have all this information together. For people like us to share that information. Because in any other context, you wouldn't know about it. In any other context, you wouldn't know about it. So spanking is the same thing. It becomes a sexual misconduct because it happened to them as kids and they go around doing it and they get off on it. Okay. So another, there's a slew of things. In the context of consensual adults, nobody's getting harmed, no foul, no nothing. Okay. But the question that you guys all should be having is, why did this begin to begin with? Yeah, so go back to that. And it starts there in very early childhood, very early in their formative years. So there's a lot of questions in that area as to why more men than females. It could be maybe because they're more protective of females getting touched by random people. It could be that men are just more prone to sexualizing every freaking conduct under the sun. We don't know, right? So it's all these questions that still, we don't know all the answers to, but we know generally how it's kind of coming about, like something in their childhood, they sexualized a conduct that was being done to them or was in their presence, was something. And then you kind of need to know the type of environment they're in. Is the parents chronically just sexual abusers to their children? Is was the father, on the spectrum of being a sociopath? You know what I mean? There's like a lot of other layers to why this comes out later versus other people. Like, I don't have it. And I'm sure a lot of people out here could go, oh, we all got tickled as kids. And it doesn't turn me on, right? Okay, that's the luck of the draw. You just kind of don't know, and then they may have something that's a little bit more intricate in the conduct than we did as kids. But I don't recall too many people going on like that to me as a kid. So that may be the differentiating factors. It wasn't like every day someone's coming up trying to tickle my ass and touching me all over the place versus somebody else. And it's a very it seems to be a newer area because we couldn't even come out and talk about it in 2005 because government's over here trying to sex shame everybody and trying to target people who are educators. So there's so many areas right here. Yes, it's a sexual misconduct because it affects their sexuality. It can potentially affect their sexuality, but it also creates kids that turn into pedophile monsters. But I don't know why it would be different from one group to the other. Like, that's a whole other thing. So, but yeah, you have those factors going in. All right, I'm out of energy. I had enough, man. This topic is like killing me. It like drained every part of my soul out of me because I'm like, I can't, this is the answer. I mean, these are the answers. It's that they're ignorantly pimping us out to pedophiles. The parents, the moms were totally fine with it. And not necessarily that they do it. They may also do it too, but that they don't see any problem with random strangers touching their children. Or other family members, anybody. And somehow they think because it's in a family unit, it's okay. No, none of it. It wouldn't be any different. If it's a bad conduct on a set, it's a bad conduct at home. So to what extent they're doing it, I would question a grandfather that continues to do it all the time. That's disgusting. My grandparents never did that. I don't recall my grandparents ever doing anything like that to me. I would be hella weirded out if every time I went over to my grandparents' house and they were all over my body. Nah, I'm almost certain that never happened. No, I'm so grossed out by that. Just reading it too, I was like, that's not normal. That did not happen in our home. Oh yeah, putting your mouth on the child's stomach and doing those fake, like, yeah. There's all these things where people think it's totally fine to do to children at random, but if you did that to an adult at a workplace, you're going to get arrested. Like, why would it be different on a child? You guys are nasty. Like, what the hell is that? Yeah, so there's all these conducts that everybody has normalized, and you keep asking why there's so many pedos. It's like, wow, I don't know. It might be about a 10 million things that you guys keep doing to children that you keep ignoring and calling it normal. I mean, really, and the general outline from those people in that field is like, yeah, sexual childhood abuse. I'm like, yeah, but can you define it to them? Because they seem to be idiots and they think that all that stuff is fine and it's not. And they're coming up to me with this weird crap. And I'm like, I cannot, like you get it. And you're just like, yeah, that's some kind of crap you did to a child. Like, why is this dude like way into this now as an adult? Right? So I was like, oh my God. And for everybody in that field, like they just think it's totally fine because we're all adults, right? And it's like, yeah, but the dude be running off like this. Why did this happen? It may be fine in the context here, but that's effed up. And why did it happen? And yeah, there's a lot of stuff. That's why I said, I go, my brain, I have so much information, man. It's like, but to the context, it's like, how do you, bag it? Because the field is behind. The public is, oh God, decades behind still in education in this area. And I was like, yeah, they create the pedos, get mad about it, hand us to pedos, chronically call kids, like creating conspiracies on kids saying they just want money because you don't want to admit that you or doing something wrong. I like the clueless action of the Bible and how they were not into kids or something. I'm like, you guys were pedos since day one. Oh, okay, going back into that. Another religion, which I had already talked about, does sexual harm to little boys. And if I say it, they're going to go on this rampage that for censorship and that they need to be protected at any cost, for doing this crap. No. So we brought up the story because another male brought up the story and they want to censor it and it's bullshit. And now they're sitting there trying to make a law around it. But the justification, you guys, No energy right now. I really don't. I feel like the life just went out of me right now. I just don't. I need to lay down. Oh man. Like, it's so bad. Their justification is this: because the religion culture has done it for so long, therefore they should have to need to allow it. I'm like, no, that's not a justification at all. In fact, that comes back around to, oh, all the fathers got us raped, so therefore it's not rape. So at no point in time are they actually protecting young boys from sexual abuse. It's really interesting, because the more that we go through these stories, the more I see how lax they are with males. And males are the ones perpetrating the most. And because males are perpetrating the most, the association to those things are from child sexual abuse many times, right? And some mentality and minimizing conduct. So as we're going through it, it's like, do you think that they would have passed it off if they were doing it to females? Hell no. And in fact, that's why a male brought the story up to begin with, which was a progressive male, Kyle Kalinske. And I never knew about it. And I was like, that is disgusting. I didn't even know they did that. And at no point in time should anybody, any adult putting their mouth on any kid's body part. And when we're talking about genital mutilation, regardless if it was a cultural thing or not. Back in that time, they were very stupid and ignorant, and they were sexually abusing kids throughout that whole history from every religion. It wasn't a single religion. That at some point you have to stop it because they're all perpetrators, right? Why are they all perpetrators? Well, you're doing about 10 million things to create the perpetrator. And each of these areas needs to be fixed. At no time should anybody be doing that, regardless if they think it's from Jesus Christ or somebody else, right? So, it's still a child sexual abuse, and it's wow. Like, it's wow. But it was a small group of people doing it, but it's not picking on any other portion other than the male supremacy in it that they keep pounding out. But, those things right there. But they're also telling men that we could do that. So it normalizes it for them to do that to us, right? And you do see countries doing that. You do, actually. So, yeah, nice cycle there. That was not a good justification to keep allowing it. Regardless of anything. You're talking about the child, okay? So that's not religious freedom. That's doing something against somebody's will, and a child cannot consent, so therefore they cannot consent to any freedom to do anything. They're under the, thing. It's funny that they allow this, but they're totally hardcore against, like, any transgender, changing of anything, right? For kids. But this is okay. We're going to pass off, like, chopping up some parts of some kid. Okay. No, guys. No. So if you want to stop a problem, you have to go from person to group to whatever, whoever's doing it. It shouldn't even be a thing for any child. None. I mean, it isn't like a group specific, but this particular topic was on a specific group, which consists of kids dying as well from it. So why did I get censored? Why did I get censored? He didn't get censored. Kyle didn't get censored. I don't think so, unless they came back at him and made him remove it. I will thank him for bringing the topic up because I was unaware of it. So I decided, well, it is my responsibility to also talk about that because it's relating with males. So I did. And it went missing. It went missing, you guys. I don't know. Censorship. Religious nutcases would be doing that because we have the right to critique that. We do. Absolutely. Regardless if you don't like it. Why is it a topic right now? Why are they sitting there trying to make laws on it? Exactly. So, they create the pedo monster. That's why we get a Jeffrey Epstein and people like that. So, there's a lot to it. So, I'm trying to tackle these areas. But I'm also really trying to tackle these men that keep flinging off their conduct onto us. And we're not going to take it. Sorry, guys. You guys are a bunch of narcissists going on like that. You believe us. You just think nothing's wrong with your conduct of knocking us out. You see nothing's wrong with choking us. That is highly disturbing. That's highly disturbing from a cop, you guys.